This is the crock rockin', nickelback poppin', curls for all the girls, the Perminator, Sam Beal. And I am on the Sit Down Marks podcast, and we're going to get some perfection today, baby.
Hey, yo.
If I can be serious for a minute.
Oh, yeah! Acknowledge me.
What's happening out there in Marks Land? Come on in, sit down, Marks Mafia. It's time for another flagship podcast of the Sit Down Marks. Welcome, episode number 165 of the Sit Down Marks podcast. Today we're going to be talking our top 3 favorite SummerSlam matches of all time. We're also going to be talking the big AEW Texas All-In pay-per-view that just happened over the weekend. We're going to be talking a little Evolution, a little Saturday night's main event, but it's going to be a big pod. So, I got the boys in with me today. On the East Coast, the host with the most, Lucha Daddy, the OG. Number 1, Primo, Master P, if you will.
If you
Primo.
will, baby. Yes, sir. So, we are back. I am excited to talk about that. Like you said, it was in Texas. Everybody knows if you're going to play in Texas, you got to have a fiddle in the band. But right. I'm glad to be back. It feels like it's been a little bit, but maybe just me. But no, welcome back, everybody, and can't wait to get this started.
And he's the most recognized and traveled independent wrestling fan in the Midwest. You know him as Green Hat Guy. We call him Dylan around here. What's up, brother?
Well, shit on a shingle, boys. We are back. Like Stain said, it has been a while. We're vibing and thriving over here. There was, 800 hours of wrestling last weekend. We got a lot to talk about. If Primo's Master P, does that make us the No Limit Soldiers, or
no?
We just Ray and Conan, or what are we doing here?
You're about it.
Right. Oh, with Dylan, I think we got to call you Devon. This only makes sense, right? Or maybe something like that. But welcome
Testify.
everybody. Yeah, right. Welcome everybody for joining us. Want to thank everybody, and we appreciate you tuning in today on YouTube and Facebook and sitdownmarks.com, and everybody listening right now on Audible, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those podcast platforms. We really appreciate you guys all tuning in. We've been meaning to do this, but I'm gonna make sure I get it in today, man. We've had a bunch of new listeners. And we've had some around, the United States, we've had some locally, had some on the West Coast, but lately, a lot of our new fans have come abroad, if you will. I'm talking about countries like Italy listening to the podcast, Saudi Arabia, Germany, France, Norway. Like we just had a bunch of different countries, so we want to make sure we shout out you guys and say appreciate you for checking out the pod. I mean, Primo, when we started this, I don't think we ever thought we'd get downloads from countries like what I just named.
Shit, I didn't think the dude down the street would listen to this, so much less across the pond. I used to live in Italy way back when, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Also, I want to make sure I mention them all: Japan, Singapore, and there must be some Stephanie Vakir fans out there because we're getting some downloads in Chile. Yeah, so shout out to you guys. Thank you guys so much for checking out the podcast. We really appreciate it. So we've had a lot, man, going on lately. We've been very busy. We had a big weekend of Dreamwave Wrestling, so we'll talk about that later on in the podcast. So let's get this thing started, Primo. If you're ready, man, it's time for the hot start. 5 topics in the world of pro wrestling. All right, let's talk about one of the big things that happened over the weekend. This is going to be all Primo right here because his girl Naomi, bloody nose and all, finally wins the Women's World Heavyweight Championship. She cashed in on EO later on I think at the very end of the Evolution pay-per-view, but very cool to see her finally getting this belt around her waist, right, Primo?
So cool. And then she came out and cut a fire promo on Monday, but no, this was awesome. Actually, and she said it, we weren't expecting this. She said, don't quit. She's like, y'all don't try to lie. We were expecting her to be on track with Tiffany and Charlotte. So right. To see her come out at the end of number one, at the end of that banger, but I mean, I will say, and we know the fallout now, but at the time it was like, okay, she pinned the champ. She didn't pin Rhea. So right. You always think about those things for future booking. But no, I thought it was really cool. And obviously I was hyped. I mean, I was hyped whenever she first started with this character. And I'm just glad that, she really took it, by the horns and went all the way with it. So, it's congrats to her.
Definitely. Dylan, what do you think about Naomi winning the title?
Yeah, kind of like Primo said, completely shocked. Shout out Rhea and EO for that match. That was, match of the year contender all the way up until the cash in. Yeah, I had it like a whole timeline already planned out of when Naomi was going to cash in and beat either Tiffany or Jade and how that was all going to play out. And I could not have been more wrong on that front, but that's why we love wrestling. They always got to surprise us around here.
Yeah, I mean, I'd admit it. I didn't even think about a cash in, when this was happening at all. When I saw it, I'm like, oh, hell yeah. This is great because, I've kind of felt like in that situation, I knew there wasn't going to be like a failed cash in. So, but yeah, very cool, man. Very happy to see Naomi. I mean, we've been watching Naomi for quite a while now. Yeah. I mean, she's, I feel like
Funkadactyls.
Yeah. I mean, that was pre-Charlotte, pre-Becky.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So she's been through the whole evolution thing, and now she's, now she's an OG. She's gone. And since, came back now. And I'm glad to see this, new. I'm starting to dig this, proceed with caution. I'm liking the heel kind of one-liner she's coming up with. She's really kind of settling into it, man. And so I was I'm really happy to see this. And also, since then, they've made a 3-way at SummerSlam between her, Io, and Rhea. And I think Naomi's got to go over big here and at SummerSlam to kind of solidify this run, right?
She doesn't even number one, we are obviously we knew this before because we've seen Io and Rhea, go head to head so many times. But it's every time is great, and Sunday is a great example of that. But Naomi is the kind of wrestler that's only going to make that much better. She is super athletic and awesome. So this is going to be another banger.
Yeah,
yeah. They had the triple threat at Mania. Io and Rhea and Bianca, and that. I mean, not to speak for everybody, but that was one of the matches we came out of Mania going, wow, that was absolutely incredible. Right. So they got a it's what we do. We're going to compare the two matches. So they got a high bar to pass, and I definitely think they can. It's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, small little thing is it kind of threw me off with her losing earlier in the night to Jade. You know what I mean? That kind of threw me off a little bit. And maybe that kind of got us thinking, about cash-in not happening. You know what I mean? So that was a little weird, but I feel like it was all erased once I seen Naomi going to the ring, with the cash-in.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I could see how that would be kind of to deter you,
right.
From thinking that. Also, this, if anything, obviously it's awesome, but also it, solidifies these Evolution pay-per-views. They're can't miss events.
Yeah,
it's not one you skip. So, and the people that probably may have skipped it because it was on a Sunday evening, well, they missed out on that awesome moment. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and she sold the earlier match when she came down to cash in. She wasn't running 100%, 90-0. I've got my briefcase. I'm going to cash in and win the belt.
Yeah.
She was kind of limping down there. She looked like she had been in a fight. And I loved that little detail. It wasn't
really,
full force.
Really
Here
cool
we go.
Thing, to go with what you're saying. She waited to hit Io with the briefcase until the bell rang for the triple threat.
Yeah.
Very well done. Very well done. All right, topic number 2. This one kind of came out of the AEW All In segment. It looks like our boy Adam Cole. Looks like he may be taking a little break for a while. So he came out and he was supposed to be on this card. I think he was supposed to defend against Kyle Fletcher, I believe.
Yeah.
And he ended up coming out and saying that, he's going to take a break. We all know about, having injuries, but it sounds like this time is going to be gone for a little while. And, they let him come out, talk to the crowd. Kyle O'Reilly was out there with him, Roderick Strong. He did the Adam Cole baby one more time. It kind of seemed like, like going out the door. Yeah, I'm going to miss doing that. So I just wanted to get you guys' thoughts on this. I don't think anything has came out about it yet. Usually when somebody takes time off for a while, it's usually a neck injury or, some sort of concussion, something to do with the head. He's gotten hurt in other places, but I'm gonna be kind of sad to see this one. I've always liked to watch, Adam Cole, obviously, but just kind of want to get you guys' thoughts on, this is probably going to hurt AEW a little bit. Not saying that Adam had like a big spot in the company, you know what I mean? He was the TNT champion, so obviously had a little bit of stock in him. But what are you guys' thoughts about possibly losing Adam Cole here for a little while? Maybe for good.
Yeah, it definitely did not sound good the way he was talking. It wasn't like I'm going to be out 6 weeks and I'll be back kind of thing. From just interpreting what he was saying, he was one of my first favorites when I started watching Ring of Honor. Great run in NXT. Unfortunately, kind of his whole AEW run was kind of snake bit. Like every time he'd get some momentum and get something going, another injury would pop up. Mm-hmm. Hopefully it's not the end. I say that selfishly, if he's hurt that bad, then he's talented enough outside of the ring where he could still do, something in wrestling just out of the ring. But yeah, obviously just hope the best for him.
Yeah. I mean, like Dylan was saying, actually, yeah, his AEW run, unfortunately, it seems to have been peppered with injuries, and that last one he was gone for a long time, and then he finally came back, when he returned against MJF, and he's had this run since then where he's finally starting to get some momentum, and he has a singles title, and it's all gets swept out from under his feet. And it kind of sucks too, because obviously, if you've been hurt that many times and you're still coming back, obviously it's because you're passionate about it.
Mm-hmm.
Also too, I've watched his Twitch streams, and he's a sweetheart of a guy. So
Sure is.
it sucks, but obviously wish him all I wish him all the best. And like Dylan said, selfishly, obviously I'd like to see him come back, but do what's best for your health.
Yeah, I'll always love the Ring of Honor run he had, with the Kingdom. I love that. I loved when he left the Kingdom. I loved when he joined the Young Bucks. I loved when he left the Young Bucks. You know what I mean? So all those stories were just fantastically good. And, I mean,
Undisputed Era and NXT Black and Gold.
Yeah.
And this is a guy that a lot of people have said, if he was a foot taller, he probably would have been better than Shawn Michaels. You know what I mean? But he's made so much in wrestling, despite, people talking about him being short, people talking about him being little. How many times have we heard, Adam Cole never goes to the gym? You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, I think a place in wrestling, there's definitely somewhere for him there, All right, topic number 3, boys. Was it the 3rd annual? Or not annual, because they're not doing them every year, but Evolution live from Atlanta over the weekend. I was going to get you guys. I thought it was really good. I didn't think anything was fantastic. I did somewhat enjoy Becky and Lyra and Bailey. I thought that was a pretty good match. I enjoyed Io and Rhea, obviously, at the end to finish. But I hope they continue to do these, you know what I mean? Because, and I think kind of the way that they do them, not so sporadic, not so all the time, you know what I mean? But watching this, it felt special, you know what I mean? A women's card like this, I remember, watching these always makes me feel like the same feeling I had when they made the Mae Young Classic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always love to see, the opportunities and stuff that they do for Atlanta, or for the women's division. I was a little hesitant on it being in Atlanta, because I'm kind of like, I don't know if that's like it's a wrestling hub, right? It always has been, Georgia, but I'm like, I don't know, maybe women's card should have been there, but the crowd brought it. I thought it was awesome. I thought it turned out well. What'd you guys think about Evolution? And anything you saw on the card you thought that you really liked?
Yeah, I enjoyed the show. It was the last show of the weekend that I watched out of, the 15 major shows we had, and it still kept my attention, and I still liked it. It wasn't like, okay, I'm done with this, we're bored. It was still really good. That triple threat you mentioned, the Becky, Bailey, Lyra, I really liked it.
Mm-hmm.
That finish, the way Becky rolled into a backslide, I thought that was sick. Had not seen that before. Like we talked about, I really liked the main event. I really liked that they could do a all women's card and put so much shine on the current women. It wasn't like, okay, we're doing an all women's card and we have to grab 20 former, legends, divas,
right.
women to bring in. It was still a good focus on the current crop and the future crop, all the NXT, all the NXT talent on it.
Right.
So the first one was in 2018.
Okay.
So what is that, 7 years ago?
Yeah.
They had Becky versus Charlotte and Ronda Rousey versus Nikki Bella. Just a few of the matches. But this past Sunday, obviously, was well received, and plenty of great things that happened, as we talked about. Namely cash in, Io and Rhea's killer match, even before the cash in.
Yeah.
And then everything else, Lyra and Bailey and Becky triple threat. I didn't think Becky. Never mind. I was just gonna say I didn't think Becky was gonna retain, but whatever. All I was gonna say was, obviously, we've already known for a while now. Since before the first Evolution, it really started in NXT when they really started women's wrestling, in the WWE at least, started to get away from the old diva stuff and more towards the athleticism that we see today. So it's really awesome that they got to put a whole night into that again.
Yeah.
And not only that, but the whole first hour of Raw on Monday was all female women matches as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they killed it. I mean, it was just like, I remember I was like, well, they had Nikki Bella and Chelsea Green. They had Kabuki Warriors versus Raquel and Roxanne.
Yeah. Tiffany Trish.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, the men's gauntlet match in the second half of the show is really gonna have to live up to this. But no, it's pretty cool. So it shows that they're putting stock into this, not just the one night, but they're listening. Like, oh yeah, fans are into this.
Yeah, totally agree. Topic number 4, boys. WWE had another show Saturday night. It was Saturday night's main event. This one was in Atlanta. The highlight of the night was Goldberg versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight title. Gunther ended up getting the win. I think he tapped him out. Goldberg's farewell speech got cut off a little quicker. It was like Bret Hart was running the.
I've seen that meme so many times now.
It's like Bret Hart was
running the TV truck,
cutting them off. Yeah, it was running the TV truck, man. So, yeah. What you guys think of Saturday night's main event? I thought it was okay. It was all right. Nothing really blew me away. I mean, obviously, you had to watch it to see what happened with Gunther and Goldberg. But yeah, what you guys think?
Well, after watching, we talked about well, we haven't yet, but we will. It's All In covered the entire day.
Right.
I was going to say that part real quick. I started watching All In live at the same time I started watching NXT.
Right.
And that went all the way until the first part of Saturday night's main event. So I'm just like, holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of wrestling on Saturday. But all that to be said, Saturday night's main event, I never really hyped those too much in my own head anyway. Except for that one with Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes. Maybe it was because of the Winging Eagle belt. I don't know. But for some reason, that one had a little bit more for me.
Yeah.
This one was okay. And I would never really cared about the whole Goldberg thing anyway. In my opinion, he could have retired after WrestleMania 20. So, but I mean, it is what it is. I thought it was kind of crazy that they did cut him off though at the end. But anyway, no, it was okay. It wasn't. I don't think it was anything special to me.
Yeah.
Interesting that he went out on a tap out. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But
yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
I pretty much agree. Kind of got mixed feelings on it. Like on one hand, I popped huge for Doug Dillinger, which, if you're watching a Saturday night's main event to pop for WCW security guard, like you're probably not going to enjoy it too often, but this time we got it. Goldberg's whole, I don't know what you call it, security group, his posse, whatever.
Yeah.
You had, Ernest Miller and Josh Barnett and Chuck Zito. Like that was cool.
Yeah.
But it's like you're taking this 80s nostalgia Saturday night's main event with Jesse Ventura and you're throwing 1998 WCW in there. And it just had like a weird, it was kind of cool, but it didn't really mix at the same time.
Yeah.
And like you guys said, like the matches, like I thought they were all fine, but nothing really stood out, especially on a weekend, like Primo was saying, when there's 800 hours of wrestling, like nothing really stood out. I don't think Goldberg's done though. he might be done with WWE, but already today on different interviews I saw, he was already complaining about them cutting him off and it being like a 3-week build instead of some 6-month build. So I don't think it'll be with WWE because this seemed like a pretty good send-off. But I think he'll pop up somewhere and try getting a match out of somebody, and we'll complain about it.
Yeah, I saw him saying something like all the
sure.
work he put into it. And I was like,
yeah,
bro, you made like 2 appearances before this. 2 or 3. So
which the match itself did go a lot longer than I expected. I don't know if that's because of Seth's, injury or what. I expected, like a 3-minute spear, kick out, power bomb finish type thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we'll see him again.
So I have to admit, when Goldberg put Gunther up in the jackhammer, I started getting nervous.
Oh gosh.
And when he came down, he didn't get him all the way over. He kind of still landed on his side a little bit, so it wasn't, very pretty. I'm thinking, right there, that's kind of like all I need to know, right there. Now, I do want to say one thing, because I have a lot of family around Georgia. I'm a Falcons fan. So like I know a lot of things about Georgia, and I've been around Georgia a lot, right? Goldberg, there's so many people that I know that have ran into him in public, out in public, restaurant, bar, whatever, seen him at a stoplight, that kind of stuff. And I want to say this, man, never have I ever heard one bad story about how Goldberg, never waved at, or never said hi, or, come over and got a picture. My uncle has got a picture with him. He ran into him at like TNT Studios. He was there, and he ran into him there, and like he goes, I was sitting over there, and he goes, Goldberg was talking to like 2 other guys, and I was kind of standing off to the side, and he knew that I was standing off to the side, like waiting on him to do. He's like, he stopped, come over. It's like, hey man, you all right? What's going on? He's like, yeah. He's like, I was just, I'm a big fan. I just want to get a picture with. He's like, oh yeah, well come on, man, let's get a picture. You know what I mean? So I just want to say shout out to Goldberg, because, wrestlers, I'm sure, get freaking annoyed with us fans coming up to them, talking to them, sign this, yada yada, that kind of stuff. But I've never heard one bad thing about Goldberg, and just wanted to, just say that, like, I just want to see him go away. He's had his run. I'm happy, but man, what a good dude he was.
Yeah.
And a lot of people like, you probably like him because he's a Falcons fan. I'm like, man, I think he was on like the training camp roster. What I mean? So anyway.
Yeah, no, I was gonna just to rewind real quick. I forgot to mention one thing that I did pop for, so I'm not guilty. But when Gunther chopped him and he just ate it and laughed, I thought that was funny. I was like, okay, so Goldberg's still a badass,
right?
I got laughing last week. How often, when Vince was in charge, did we complain that they always buried and embarrassed the hometown guy, right? Like every time it's somebody's hometown. And now we got Goldberg in his hometown, and everybody's like, please don't give him the win. Please don't, I don't care if it's in his hometown in Atlanta, Pop. Like, don't give him the belt. Go ahead and let him lose. It's fine. Right. Like, just the dichotomy there. I got laughing about that last
That's pretty funny.
Which is the total opposite of when I went to the Georgia Dome to see Hogan versus Goldberg on Nitro, when everybody in the whole spot was like, he's got to win it tonight, So, but all right, let's move on, boys. Final topic in the hot start. Topic number 5. We got to talk AEW All in Texas. I absolutely love this card, especially the last 3 matches. I was like, 3 matches were my shit. Maybe because they all went kind of like I thought they would, but just absolute great matches. I'm so happy that Hangman is the champ now. It was kind of funny seeing the AEW World Championship after not seeing it for so long. Like, it almost looked new again. Somebody pointed out that it still had Bryan Danielson's plates on it, which is wild. But man, did I love this card? I thought this was, right up there with WrestleMania to me. I loved obviously Tony and Mercedes. Now, had it went Mercedes, I wouldn't have loved it as much. But Okada Omega was my shit. But man, and you guys know I'm not a Moxley guy. But man, I love that main event, man. It was so good, and I loved everything that happened in it. Just awesome, just a really awesome pay-per-view. On top of it being 8 hours bell to bell, beginning to end. I think 6 hours on the regular card.
Yeah,
but man, I really did like this card a lot.
Yeah. So, admittedly, and I've said this before, but I didn't all the way fall out, but I kind of fell out of AEW a little bit over the past little while. I pretty much only kept up through highlights and stuff, but for some reason, maybe it's because it was in Texas. And as my brother-in-law said, everything is better in Texas. So, I tuned into this from start to finish, and gotta say, I loved every minute of it. It was awesome. Freaking Juice Robinson returning, clean shaven, freaking juice to the gills.
Yeah.
Yeah. Freaking the Young Bucks losing to Ospreay and Swerve Strickland. That was a good match too.
Yeah.
I mean, the other ones you mentioned obviously were awesome. The freaking main event, I've read this a lot since then, was not only is it people obviously fawn over Hangman winning and that's their guy and blah, the storytelling, but also another aspect to that is something else you said was people hadn't seen that title in a long time.
Yeah.
So a lot of people were like, that was the moment right there when he opened the briefcase and we got to see that title again. That was like tears, man. But no, it was great. I liked the whole thing and it brought me back in. I gotta say, AEW brought me back in.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah. Everything is better in Texas, including the Buckeyes defense. But anyway,
I
did really enjoy the pay-per-view. 6 hours is too long. We got to say it. It's just too long, but it was really good. The main event, I loved. Brian showing up, Darby coming back, great stuff. Swerve getting involved.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little concerned, like just a tad bit, that style of match, the Cody Roman Mania 40, and then again this weekend, that's going to become like the new really hit thing that people try to do constantly. Just throw, here comes a heel or here comes a babyface to even it out. And here comes two heels or here comes, somebody else to even it out. Like, I don't want that to become the normal. So hopefully we won't get there. Shout out to Dustin Rhodes, winning the singles title.
Winning in Texas.
Texas.
Yeah,
dude.
We talked about Adam Cole and you hate to see that, but talking about making good on the situation, giving Dustin that win.
The Texas flag outfit.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. I thought Kyle Fletcher here was going to get the
100%
win, but man, the goosebumps that I got were so old school when Dustin won, man, and the family coming up in the ring. You're right, like Primo, like decked out in the Texas gear, like I felt like a born Texan. I was like so proud, right? I was like so proud of but I was like, man, that was the way. Like whoever come up with that. I'm like, all right, Dustin ain't winning. I'm looking, and then he does, man, and the way the match was laid out was awesome. But I don't expect him to hold that thing no more than a month. But man, that was such a feel-good story, man, that I didn't know I needed, right?
I dig that a lot. I immediately, as soon as that ended, I reached out to my brother. I was like, Dustin Rhodes just won in Texas.
Yeah. And good. You had Athena winning the women's gauntlet. Did not see that coming, but love it. We need Athena and Billy on regular TV, not just Ring of Honor.
Right.
You had Cope showing up. Cope and Christian versus FTR. That could be a lot of fun. And my last thing, I'm kind of surprised at how few people are talking about Omega and Okada, both coming into the show and after. It's almost like we knew it was going to be a great match, and they had a great match, and we're just kind of okay with it because there's so much else to talk about.
Yeah,
but coming in,
seen it so many times.
I don't know,
already, New Japan.
But when we saw it, it's like greatest match ever type stuff.
Yeah.
Coming into the weekend, people were just talking about the Mox Hangman and Tony Mercedes and like Goldberg Gunter, and understandably so.
Sure.
And then I feel like leaving the weekend, it's all about Hangman winning and Naomi winning, and again, understandably so. But I'm like, Omega and Okada had another really great match. Maybe it's just not on my timeline. Maybe people are talking about it. But yeah, 4 hours is great. 6 hours is a little long, but I loved it. Great pay-per-view.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
I was going to say, my only question was, is there any significance to Bryan Danielson wearing a Blue Panther mask?
Right, like come back as Blue Panther.
Right.
Man, yeah, but God, I absolutely love this. And like, so you guys know I love Jay White, but like, he's kind of been missing for a while, you know what I mean? And for taking a break for whatever. And during that time, man, I've really fell in love with Adam Page. Like, he screams Magnum TA to me, and maybe that's probably why, the look, move set. Like, if he did a belly to belly suplex, like, I'm all in, brother. You know what I mean? But yeah, and like I just get some of those vibes, and like, I know it's gonna sound dumb, but it's just like, I'm gonna just say it. It's like my wrestling fandom is like, because I feel like when Magnum TA, like, his career was cut short. You know what I mean? So I feel like when Adam wins, Magnum wins. It's kind of like the way I feel.
Reincarnated wrestling.
Yeah.
Yes. But man, it was a good pay-per-view. So I hope they keep this thing going. A lot of moving parts coming out of that pay-per-view that I, think they can still do. I know Tony and Mercedes aren't done with each other. Mercedes probably end up winning it from her in a feud later or something. But kudos to AEW. They fucking got this one right, man. Except for in 6 hours.
And like I said, I hadn't watched a whole lot of regular programming recently, and with this feeling like, kind of like a season finale, I definitely makes me want to tune into next season.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, boys. That's going to do it for the hot start. Let's move on to the dropkick discussion. But before we do, let's hear a word from Solomon Uncle T Tupu.
How we doing? It's good old Uncle T, Solomon Tupu here on the air, and you're listening to Sit Down Marks podcast.
All right, so SummerSlam right around the corner, and I asked the boys to come up with their top 3 favorite SummerSlam matches of all time. So we're going to talk about those real quick. So as I always like to say, it's time to talk about what we're going to talk about. But Primo, I want to throw it back to you, brother. The last time we talked about old school SummerSlam was episode 16. We talked about our top SummerSlams, full pay-per-views of all time. So it's been quite a while, man. So
I wonder if my answers are similar.
So what we're going to do is we're just going to talk top 3. We're going to go from 3 to 1 and tell you about our favorite SummerSlam matches. So maybe you can go look them up, or, maybe just remind yourself of how good these were. So Primo, why don't you start us off with number 3?
So are these like favorite to least favorite to favorite, 3, 2, 1, or
number 1 should be your favorite?
Okay. So, okay. Yeah. So I actually have like 5, but I narrowed it down to these 3. Because with that being said, when you first introduced this idea to us, DB, these were the first 3 that popped in my head.
Okay.
And the reason they're the first 3 that popped in my head is because they're 3 of my favorite feuds, 3 of my favorite rivalries throughout all of wrestling. So number 3 on my list is SummerSlam 2009, Jeff Hardy, CM Punk, TLC match for the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, why this sticks out to me, like I've said before, I even said this on Cheap Pops not too long ago on Wrestlers I Hated. I was grown already when this happened, and I absolutely hated CM Punk during this because Jeff Hardy's my guy.
Right.
And this is the part of CM Punk's rise as he was becoming, a star in WWE. And obviously Jeff Hardy exited not too long after this, but this was a banger of a match, and it was extremely personal. do the straight edge and personal life of Jeff Hardy, but straight edge CM Punk, personal life of Jeff Hardy. So no, for my reasons being that it's one of my favorite rivalries, and I was invested in this, so that's why it immediately came to my mind as my number 3.
Dylan, who you got number 3?
Yeah, I kind of have a similar approach to Primo as I had just a list of different matches, but like the 3, like he said, like the first 3 that came to mind, what I have down. Number 3, I'll go back to 1997. I'm going to go Undertaker versus Bret Hart, WWF title, Shawn Michaels as a special ref. I think you guys will understand what I'm saying. It's kind of hard to put into the right words, but this is like one of the first matches that I actually like enjoyed the match itself, not just, like the actual like working of the match, not just like the I'm cheering the good guy, I'm hitting the bad guy because that's what you're supposed to do, but like watched it and was like, oh, that's like a really good match. And I watched it, 20 years later on a DVD. It wasn't in 1997. I would have been a whole 2 years old. But the stipulations, you got Undertaker defending the title. If Bret loses, he's barred from wrestling in the States.
Yep.
And Shawn and Bret hate each other. So if Shawn cost Bret the match, then Shawn is also barred from wrestling in the U.S.
They don't do that enough anymore.
I know. I know. Like, it wowould be awesome if Bret Hart popped up once every like 3 months because he can only wrestle in Canada.
Right.
Like, the finish is Shawn hitting Taker with a chair when he's aiming for Bret, and then Bret covers and gets the pin. Bret's the champ. Shawn goes off to feud with Undertaker. They go to Hell in a Cell. So it's just like a lot branching from this match, and just a little nugget. I think it's cool that like in storyline at SummerSlam, Bret is worried about Shawn screwing him in the title match. And then fast forward a couple months to Survivor Series, and they actually do screw Bret in the title match.
Yes.
There's a lot more Bret Hart matches that could probably make this list ahead of this one for SummerSlam, but just for personal reasons, that's my number 3.
My number 3 is shocker, Razor Ramon versus Shawn Michaels 2.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed this one more than WrestleMania 10. So this was the rematch. Why I love this match so much is as good as matches they had at WrestleMania 10, they was asked to go back out and do it again, so they went out there with expectations to beat the first match, right? They went even more crazier than before, which I, kind of at the time didn't really think could be done. But what I really loved about this match is this is 1995. I'm 20 years old. Okay. And I feel like this match kind of set the tone for what ladder matches would become and like what we would eventually see them as, because I felt like, yes, like the first time was really good, but this time they got innovative with how to use, the ladder, the way they were hitting each other with kind of like, weird timing spots and that kind of stuff. Like I felt like, this one, if you're going back to study a ladder match, it's probably one of the ones you're studying now. Fast forward to all the wrestling ladder matches, TLC, yada yada yada, we've seen up until now. It doesn't seem so crazy, but for the time that it was, the precedent that it set, the rematch that it was, they was asked to go back out there and have a better match in WrestleMania 10, and they did. And 2 of the best performers, that the 90s scene. So my number 3 was the rematch.
Yeah.
Start us off at number 2, Primo.
Yeah, so continuing on with my whole deal with rivalries, and I mentioned this, I believe, when probably in our early episodes when I talked about my favorite rivalries. One of them is Edge and John Cena. And so 2006 SummerSlam main event was Edge and John Cena. Edge was the champ going into this versus John Cena. Now, we all know Edge was the first ever Mr. Money in the Bank. He
on this day
cashed in on John Cena after that Elimination Chamber, New Year's Revolution, and then it all led up to this rivalry they had. This match is important because it's basically this feud was the inception of Edge becoming the top heel rated R superstar, right? It became personal. It was doing all these dirty tactics, and John Cena was also, it was a part of time whenever he was coming off of that being extremely cool, but now he's starting to get kind of like that back and forth reaction. But he was still awesome, of course. He's John Cena. This match, I just remember this so much because the very next night, so he hits him with brass knucks and Edge retains, obviously. And that's another thing, a heel won this match. He retained the championship. Edge, ultimate opportunist. The very next night on Monday Night Raw, John Cena throws Edge in the Long Island Sound.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like all of that. I remember so vividly. So
Right.
So that's my number 2.
Awesome.
I have a feeling Primo and I might have the same number 1. I'm kind of interested to see where he goes. My 1 and 2, they're like neck and neck. I'm going to go ahead and put this one at 2. We're going to go way back, 1989. Heart Foundation, Brainbusters opens the show. It's one of my favorite matches to go back and watch just in general. Take SummerSlam out of it, just overall.
Sure.
It's like the Brainbusters run in WWF. They're still Arn and Tully. It's not like they brought them in and changed their gimmick and did whatever. You swap out Bobby Heenan for J.J. Dillon, and it's the same Brainbusters on and Arn and Tully. So it's like you got the best of the NWA and the best of the WWF. Throw them in there and let magic happen. It's cool. It's fun. The Brainbusters are the tag champs, but this is a non-title match. On commentary, they say that the match was signed, the contract was signed before the Brainbusters won the titles, so they can't go back and change it because the contract was already signed, which kind of makes you think the Hart Foundation might win, and that'll be the title program going forward.
Yeah.
But Arn and Tully sneak it out. They get to win. Tully's the legal man, but Arn gets the pin, and he covers up his bald spot on his head while he's making the cover, so the ref can't see that it's the bald guy instead of the guy with hair. And it's going to sound like the most backhand compliment ever, but I mean it positive. It's one of my favorite matches to fall asleep to. I'll just flip it on, and it's Shivani and Jesse Ventura doing commentary, and just turn that on, let it run, and fall asleep watching that. I love it. It's great stuff.
All right, so my number 2, a little bit of a layup if you're looking at, this probably also falls as maybe one of the greatest intercontinental title matches of all time. But let's go back to 1992. Bret Hart versus the British Bulldog. And the reason why I always go back to this, yes, it was a masterpiece. Yes, going back watching this, you can see Bret is, he's the leader. He makes this whole match happen, right? But what I learned, man, when at this age of 17, of course, Dad instilled, wrestling psychology and, how things work and why, up until this time, right? But I'm 17, I'm watching wrestling, but I'm probably more about chasing the girl next door or something. You know what I mean? But when I watched this match, I remember I watched it live. We got the SummerSlam that year. I watched it live, and then I don't think I watched it probably till 20 years maybe after that or something, 15 at least, right? But when I went back and watched this, I remember watching this match at 17. This match helped me learn that what 2 really good performers could do in wrestling, and then one really good leader in the match, and I guess for lack of a better term, what 2 great entertainers can do on a big stage. Because if you go back and watch this crowd they were up and down with everything that happened in this match. You know what I'm saying? It was just so good. They basically could have stopped and started singing Mary Had a Little Lamb, and the crowd would just pop for it, right? Because that was how much they just had them in the palm of their hands, you know what I mean, during this time. And Brett in his prime, crushing it, being the leader in the match, like I never want to know, but I want to feel like I always want to watch this match thinking they didn't plan anything. They just went out there and just, you know what I mean? And just, they played off the crowd. They did what worked, when they needed to bring them up, they did. When they needed to bring them back down, they did, you know what I mean? So, this was like one of the first times where I realized like, wow, like, maybe for lack of a better term too, but maybe when I realized that, hey, this is really an art form, you know what I mean? Like, this is really like, minus all the choreography and, stuff that, is planned to happen. Like, they did it on a level that at that time I kind of like couldn't really comprehend, you know what I mean? And just, and like, I feel like I learned so much about the business and from the business just from by watching this match. So I just feel like yes, it's a great match, but I feel like I always took so much more out of it than, just being, greatest, one of the great favorite SummerSlam matches. So, all right, Primo, let's get these number ones out of the way, man. Who's your favorite SummerSlam match of all time?
Well, first off, I want to say I'm pretty happy that y'all didn't take it so far. But and you guys can stick to old school. I'm going to stick to the 2000s.
Okay.
With another one of my favorite rivalries. And that is 2002 Shawn Michaels versus Triple H in the unsanctioned street fight. Now, this is after the 4-year period where Shawn Michaels was out due to the back injury. Before this, him and Triple H had teased the DX reunion. I mean, they're best friends.
Yeah.
They teased the DX reunion. He pedigrees him exactly. Dylan's wearing the DX shirt. Then it comes out that he gets attacked, and then it turns out it was Triple H. They did the old enhance the video.
Yeah.
So, but no, this obviously there was that emotion to it. The match itself showed that the showstopper HBK could still go, and it was emotional. He came out there in just boots and jeans, and afterwards Triple H hit him in the back with a sledgehammer, even though Shawn Michaels won. But not only this match, but what this match led to was a multi-year rivalry between best friends where they had several matches where they could always call back on this feud, whether it be in elimination chambers, in singles matches, in wherever they're on opposite sides of the ring. And eventually led to another favorite moment of mine, which was the 2006 DX reunion. So, like, all of this, like I said, it's one of my favorite rivalries, if not my favorite rivalry, and this match was part of that.
Love it.
Yeah.
What's your number one, Dylan?
Yeah. Yes, I was wrong. We didn't have the same number one, but that was my number 4. So we're still on the same wavelength. I'm going to go 2008, Hell in a Cell, Edge and Undertaker.
Nice.
That's good.
Primo's talking feuds. That's one of my favorite feuds. By this point, I'm old enough to know kind of what's going on and pay attention to the whole feud, start to finish. And this was a long, drawn-out feud of Edge coming in and winning the title. He's got Vicky Guerrero with him. They're screwing Taker out of it. Taker finally wins it.
No more.
Yeah, Taker finally wins it at Mania in the main event. And then from there, they ban Hell's Gate. Taker uses it. They strip him of the title. They do a count-out finish. Or Taker wins by count-out. Excuse me. Taker wins by count-out. And they're like, oh, titles can't change hand on a count-out, so the title's still vacant. And it all builds up to a TLC match where Edge with, Bam Neely and Hawkins and Ryder and Chavo, it's basically a 5-on-1. They screw Taker out of the title. Taker leaves. In that time period, Edge cheats on Vicky with Alicia Fox. It's funny what you remember about wrestling.
Right.
So Vicky puts Edge in Hell in a Cell as revenge, even though Vicky's been, a big part of screwing Taker this whole time also. And it's a great match. There's all kinds of callbacks. When Edge came back to start the feud, it was an Undertaker Batista Hell in a Cell match. And Edge was a cameraman. That's how he got in the cell. So during this SummerSlam match, Edge grabs a camera and he's using it. And the finishing sequence is one of my all-time favorites because Taker just like does everything Edge had done to him in the months building up. He hits him with a spear, and then he hits him with a camera, and then he does the concerto, and then he puts him away with the tombstone. Gets the win. He leaves the cage. Then he comes back and puts Edge on a ladder, choke slams him through the ring, and they have fire shoot up through the hole in the ring. And it's the whole feud, kind of like Primo was talking. The whole feud is just great. This is like just a perfect way to wrap it up. Undertaker is one of my all-time favorites. In main events of SummerSlam, when they have like Cena and Batista on the show, you got Triple H on the show. So there's all kinds of talent here in 08. And they still get that main event last spot and absolutely hit a home run with it.
It's great.
All right. So in 2021, Primo, when we did our favorite SummerSlams pay-per-view cards of all time, my number one was the year 2000.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah. So, and the main reason why is because of my favorite match of all time that I got to see live. It was 2000 SummerSlam, Raleigh, North Carolina. TLC won. Dudley Boys.
Yep.
Edge and Christian, Hardy Boys. I remember just being so mind blown about seeing this match live. Little did I know that it would end up becoming legendary. And having TLC 2 and 3. And being there live, seeing this kind of match, thinking somebody's going to die tonight. Like I'm gonna watch somebody die because they're doing these table spots, and Edge and Christian, I believe, were the champs at the time. They retained, but just a wild concept of a match. I just remember just looking there thinking like mind blown, like what did I just watch? You know what I mean? And I still remember that feeling to this day, like watching. If I go back and watch it, watching this, the feeling that I had. Thinking, holy shit, these guys are like, this is crazy. I'm not in the death matches. Like, what am I watching here? You know what I mean? Like, this is a WWE programming, but yeah, anytime the thought and the word SummerSlam comes out, I always think TLC won, yes, because I was there live. What an awesome pay-per-view it was, but like that one just always sticks out to me. And like I feel like I was at I feel like I got to see like Babe Ruth hit a home run. You know what I mean? I feel like I got to see I was at a no-hitter or something, something rare, being there, especially since it kind of spawned off what it did, as many matches.
Oh, it became historic.
Yeah, absolutely. So and plus too, like I'm in North Carolina. The Hardy Boys are from North Carolina, killing it in their prime. Everybody's going nuts. We know, from podcasts past, Primo, that the Hardy Boys entrance music makes your dick hard. So I'm probably sitting there with a big
you were a rock hard.
Right. Yeah, dude. So just, always revert back to that, being in my seat, watching this. One of the best times I ever had at a pay-per-view. So, but that is my number one match of all time. So I hope you guys are listening to this, watching this. If you have any favorite SummerSlam matches you want to send over, maybe we'll go back and watch it, check it out, hit us up on the socials, all that kind of stuff. So that's going to do it for the Dropkick discussion, boys. Let's make a move on. It's time to go home. Let's hear from Zach Abstract.
Hey, I'm Zach Abstract, and you're listening to Sit Down Marks podcast.
Want to remind you to follow at Sit Down Marks on all social media, and also head on over to sitdownmarks.com and give us a follow there. If you got a product or service you'd like to get over to our Marks Mafia family, give me a holler on DB on the mic at yahoo.com, or you can also hit us up on all socials. I want to remind you that our brand new YouTube series in conjunction with Dreamwave Wrestling is called Dreamwave Prelude. And what it is a show where Dylan and Primo and I showcase and talk about the stars of tomorrow, the up-and-coming talents of Dreamwave Wrestling. So Volume 1 is out right now on sitdownmarks.com, and look for Volume 2 to be dropping here sometime next week, the middle of July. Want to make sure we talk about that. So, Dylan, man, before we get to talking about what happened last weekend, let's find out what's going on this weekend, man. Let's hear about your preview.
Yeah, so this is like a preview of the preview. I have yet to write it, so we'll see what actually happens. But it's one of my favorite weeks of the year. It's the Scenic City Invitational Week. I'll be in Chattanooga from Thursday through Saturday, going to all 4 of the shows. It's cool this year. It's a 16-man tournament, but only 3 of the 16 have ever been in the tournament before, and none of them have won it. So we're guaranteed a first-time winner this year. Notable first-round matches: Tim Bosby versus Cruel. Whoever wins that could end up going all the way. Shannon Thomas, Mr. World Class himself, is in the tournament.
World Class.
Yes, sir. Taking on Vinny Massaro from the West Coast. We got Gary J versus Jameson Shook. Might be one of the matches I'm most excited for all weekend.
Nice.
Those are all in the SCI tournament itself. And then, of course, they start the weekend with TWE on Thursday night, and Saturday afternoon will be the Action Futures Showcase. Tommy Davis, from St. Louis. I can't talk all of a sudden. Amina Melbont, another Midwest talent. Got my eyes on in that one. Then elsewhere, Chicago Style is back this week. I just talked about her. Amina Belmont versus Maggie Lee for their women's title. Main event is a TLC match between Marche Rocket and Conan Lycan. That should be pretty wild. ICW is back up in the Northeast. John Wayne Murdoch's got their title back. He'll defend against Akira. We got GCW is running a baseball stadium on Long Island, I believe, if I have that right. Effie versus Charles Mason. Deanna Perrazzo's on the card. Tommy Dreamer versus Mance Warner. Some fun stuff going on up there. Then Limitless is back this weekend as they close in on the Vacation Land Cup, and Alpha One up in Canada is also back this weekend. A bunch of big matches going on up there, and that's all I have written down to talk about for this week. We'll see. Like I said, we'll see what happens, but you can find that on my Twitter. Best way to find it on my Twitter at DHagerJ15, DHAGERJ15. Whenever it's published, to be pinned at the top of the page there.
All right, so we had a big weekend on Saturday. Dreamwave had Summer Spectacular, one of the wildest, craziest show I've been a part of. It was hot, but let me tell you, the action was even hotter. So it was on tape delay. We weren't on live. It's actually going to drop, I think, this coming Friday, which will be I don't know what day is today. 18th.
18th.
Yeah. I think it's supposed to drop sometime on the 18th, so on the IWTV. But so lots of things, happen, during this. We won't cover everything, but for what I did see, I thought Connor Hopkins and Donovan Dijak was a really good match. Connor ended up retaining. The second match of the night, I think, was Hartenbauer versus Vic Capri, and there were some water balloons involved in this match. And let's just say that the water balloons ended up showing up throughout the night. They, just when you think they were gone, another wrestler would come out. In comes a flying water balloon smash on the wrestler. But outdoor show, big time attendance for this. We were just right at 1,000 people. at this show. So making it the largest Dreamwave show ever. I want to thank everybody that came out. What an awesome show it was. Thank you to Luz Lagrado for having us there, providing the food and the booze and everything throughout the day. But really good card. The main event ended up being Maggie Lee versus Elena Black. Maggie did end up retaining there, but Dylan, man, you watched the show from beginning to end. Just some highlights of what you thought and liked.
Yeah, you already mentioned Connor and Dijak. I think that was my favorite match of the day. Like you said, man, really good crowd. I saw a bunch of Sit Down Marks t-shirts in the crowd. So,
We did.
shout out everybody that represented us at the show. That's still wild to see. Awesome. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Maggie, Elena, main event. That was really good. All the women delivered, the scramble to crown the number one contender for Rebecca's title. And then Rebecca and Fallon in that title match absolutely brought it.
Yeah.
We started the tag tournament. Real quick, a shout out to Scott Stanley. He's a little banged up, going to be out for a little bit. Get well soon, Scotty. But start of the tournament to crown the new champs. That looks like it's going to be fun.
Yeah, a little side note real quick. Jake Bosch was in the scramble match on Prelude. Yeah. So you guys, if you still want to see Jake, do his thing as a single, make sure you watch when Prelude, our YouTube series comes out next week. Jake was in the scramble match. So.
Yeah, you had Sydney Bacabella stealing the show with the pose off. Yeah, just really overall, just an incredible day. So much fun all the way around. Definitely watch the VOD as soon as it drops this weekend. Yeah,
and if nothing else, some of the most iconic entrances I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
Becca came to the ring on her tour bus, which was massive. RJS, our Dreamwave Women's Alternative Champion at the time, she came to the ring in a fucking DeLorean. I'm going to say that again. She came to the ring in a fucking DeLorean. Like, she got out of things. Smoke came out. She looked like Marty McFly. You got to go check this out, man. It was super awesome entrance. A lot of different things happened on the show. Jay Repsol, the promoter at Dreamwave, he doesn't pull a punch on anything. He gives it 110% every time. So can't recommend this enough. Go watch Summer Spectacular. Should be dropping later this week. But now let's talk about what's coming up for Dreamwave. Tickets still available at dwtix.net. That's dwtix.net. So we got Uprising 6 coming up. That's our all women's division in Dreamwave. We've already had Maggie Lee versus Jada Stone announced. We just seen Becca has been announced. She's going to be wrestling AEW superstar Megan Bain. So tickets still available for that. And then Saturday night is going to be kind of a lethal lottery style card, if you will. All the matches are going to be mystery. You're not going to know any matches going into it. Maybe a few he might announce, but all the matches are going to be wild cards. It's going to be called the Hands Were Dealt, and those tickets are still available. Enzo Amore is going to be there. Oh, is that what he goes by now? Still, something like that. Anyway.
I think it's just Enzo, but
it's just Enzo.
Real
okay,
one,
yeah.
Enzo.
There you go, Real One Enzo.
Yeah,
and then the innovator of violence, Tommy Dreamer, is going to be in the house. So make sure you guys check that out. But what's coming up next on the pod next week? We got the Dreamwave champion coming in house. He's going to be here. He was on the pod a long time ago, way before he won the Dreamwave title. But he's coming back next Tuesday to talk to us about what it's been like as the Dreamwave champion. He's had matches against Donovan Dijak, Colby Carino, amongst others. So we're just getting caught up with him. So we'll be talking to Connor later on. He's going to be talking about what happened with Dijak at Summer Spectacular. So make sure you guys tune in for that. We'll be live on Tuesday night, and then the audio will drop on Wednesday. Also coming up, we got a SummerSlam preview and reaction pod coming up in a few weeks. So once again, want to thank all of our new listeners that have been checking us out. We thank you for all the old school listeners that have stuck with us through all the bad podcasts in the beginning. So hopefully we're not we're a lot better listener now. But I also want to thank people that listen to the podcast and tell me, you know, how much they enjoy it when they see me at Dreamwave or, you know, or somewhere else. So that really means a lot to us. You don't know how, you know, hard, Primo and I, and now, you know, Dylan, you know, been grinding on this thing, you know, coming up on 5 years. So, you know, it's not like we just do this thing together, man. So we've been through a lot of ups and downs, and we're real happy with the way it's going and with this partnership with Dreamwave. Like, we're really excited about the future. So, all right, boys, I'm going to get you out of here on this. So we've all seen the news and what looks like maybe end up being a bad injury for Seth Rollins for a while with this knee. But let's just there you go. So let's just say Seth's going to be out for a while, right? Well, it seemingly seemed like everything was kind of centrally based around Seth's faction, the Money in the Bank briefcase. You know, it seems like everything was kind of floating on what's going to happen with that. So let's throw Roman out of the picture. Roman just came back. Okay, let's throw Roman out of the picture. Who do you guys think? Let's just say, you know, because, you know, we've always liked to call Seth the workhorse on this pod, right? You know, who can be that workhorse in Seth's, in Seth's place and kind of carry, you know, help carry the ball, you know, for a little while till he comes back? Like, you know, who do you think can jump right? Not exactly in his spot. I don't mean like, you know, be, in the faction that Seth was in, but, you know, who can possibly, you know, help carry this thing, you know, from here?
Carry the show.
Yeah.
So I think automatically first two names that pop out for me are Finn and Dom from Judgment Day.
Mm-hmm.
LA Knight, he's been doing a lot. Karrion Kross has been making waves. Obviously, we're throwing Roman out of this equation, so not him, but
right.
And then of course, even as we witnessed on Monday, Braun and Bronson are still going to do their thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not. It could be anybody. Anybody could step up to the plate, really. In any of the women, honestly, too. Like I said, they took over the first hour of Raw on Monday.
Yeah.
So I don't mind it, but I can't pinpoint a single person, but I'm sure there's somebody who would take that focus.
Dylan, anybody jump out of you?
Honestly, kind of going off what we saw in Raw last night, kind of like what Primo said, I could see Braun Breaker really getting elevated. He has been on the rise pretty steadily, but just putting him firmly in that like main event scene. Like you said, not like taking Seth's place, one for one, but being in that main event, still having Heyman with him, still having Bronson right there with him as well. I could see him really taking over, getting a big singles push here. And, Karrion Kross has kind of been kind of like half on the back burner, half getting moved forward. Like maybe this opens up a door for him to get thrown all the way to the front and see what he can do.
Yeah, I'm feeling like maybe this might be a good spot for LA Knight.
Yeah.
He's kind of like, I feel like he's kind of the most popular, right now. He's kind of been on the outskirts of kind of the top tier guys, you know what I mean, for a little while. So, everybody's listening to what he's saying, you know what I mean? So I feel like this could be a good time for him, to really kind of take off here and kind of take himself to that next level,
What I will say is that what better way to return than on a cash in?
Yeah, that was my thought too.
I know. Yeah. It would be nice. Yeah. So I just hope it's not too long, so
he's got
not out too long. Yeah, he's got till June, true.
One more name, after he gets done losing to Jelly Roll, Drew McIntyre like push Drew McIntyre back to the front. Back to
Yeah.
where he was a year ago. Let him just take over and have that spot.
I mean, he's definitely one of the workhorses as it is, too.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
After he puts over Jelly Roll.
Yep, I totally agree with that.
All right. I want to thank everybody for listening and watching on YouTube and Facebook and also all those podcast platforms out there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. We really appreciate the support. We'll be back here pretty soon. Next week, we'll be dropping another episode of Dreamwave Prelude. So check that out on sitdownmarks.com. If you're watching right now on YouTube, Facebook, Hangout, we're going to look at an old pay-per-view poster from 2008 here as soon as we go off the air. So thank you guys all for tuning in today. For Dylan, Primo, and myself, we are the boys. And keep spreading the word of wrestling. All right, Primo. So this one's for you, buddy. 2008
Elimination Chamber.
Elimination Chamber. No Way Out. Jeff Hardy on the front. Underwater, chained in. You can see the chamber in the background.
Yeah.
This is a cool poster right here, man.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. I'm trying to remember who else was in that match. I want to say like RVD.
They had 2 that year. I think that was the first year they had 2, one for Raw and one for SmackDown.
Yeah, Triple H won the one with Jeff Hardy in it.
Yeah, I know Jeff didn't win.
Yeah.
But
like Triple H and Jeff and maybe Shawn and Jericho,
right?
Umaga, yeah, that era.
Yeah.
Another cool thing about this pay-per-view, this is when Floyd Mayweather showed up for the first time to put
that's right.
Big Show
When he
together.
actually punched Big Show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
Dude.
Yeah, that's a good pay-per-view.
Yeah,
He'll
right.
kill you. That's cool.